Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to Bhakta Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhu ji for enlightening us on topic Srimad Bhagavatam verses 4.11.7 onwards. Hare Krishna Ram Giridhari Prabhu ji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for your valuable association and your time, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, please take over the call, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Manur Uvacha Alam Vatsati Roshena Tamodvarena Papmana Yena Punya Jana Netan Avadistvam Anagashaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Manu said, "My dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is the path to hellish life. Now you are going beyond the limit by killing yakshas who are actually not offenders." In this verse, purport. In this verse, the word atiroshena means with unnecessary anger. When Dhruva Maharaj went beyond the limits of necessary anger, his grandfather Swayambhuva Manu immediately came to protect him from further sinful action. From this we can understand that killing is not bad, but when killing is done unnecessarily or when an offenseless person is killed, such killing opens the path to hell. Dhruva Maharaja was saved from such sinful action because he was a great devotee. A Kshatriya is allowed to kill only for maintenance of the law and order of the state. He is not allowed to kill or commit violence without reason. Violence is certainly a path leading to hellish condition of life, but it is also required for maintenance of the law and order of the state. Here Lord Manu prohibited Dhruva Maharaj from killing the yakshas because only one of them was punishable for killing his brother Uttama. Not all of the yakshas citizens were punishable. We find in modern warfare, however, that attacks are made upon innocent citizens who are without fault. According to the law of Manu, such warfare is a most sinful activity. Furthermore, at the present moment, civilized nations are unnecessarily maintaining many slaughterhouses for killing innocent animals. When a nation is attacked by its enemies, the wholesale slaughter of the citizens should be taken as a reaction to their own sinful activities. That is nature's law. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare There is no sound.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we can hear you. God, I can't see. Yeah, can everybody please keep their phones on mute?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you, Prabhu, now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, there was a small snag. Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripasindubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. So we are going to discuss Dhruva Maharaj's episode here where Swayambhuva Manu is coming to rescue Dhruva Maharaj from the mistake that he is about to make. As usual, Srimad Bhagavatam reveals a lot of interesting lessons for our personal growth in Krishna consciousness. So when we associate with Srimad Bhagavatam, it is our duty to search for lessons that we can apply in our own personal lives. Here Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport how Dhruva Maharaj was rescued by Swayambhuva Manu from committing a sinful action. So in our discussion today, we will turn this particular shloka to reflect upon some set of instructions and reflections for our own personal growth in Krishna consciousness. When we practice Krishna consciousness seriously and sincerely, along with our own sincerity and seriousness, Paramatma, who is sitting in the heart, and also the spiritual master who is representative of Paramatma, they come and help us time to time in our practicing of Krishna consciousness. So in our journey of Krishna consciousness, one should learn to connect with Paramatma within the heart, as well as the representative of Paramatma, which is the spiritual master who is available for our help. Any practicing devotee who is capable enough in connecting with Paramatma and the spiritual master, in spite of our knowingly or unknowingly committing mistakes, we can be saved from the debacle. So in our spiritual journey, Srila Prabhupada encourages us that we need to extend our prayers to Paramatma. As we all know, the spiritual journey is like walking on the razor's edge. And the reason this is mentioned is walking on the razor's edge is sometimes we may misunderstand, or we may be overwhelmed, or we may consider that we are already a devotee and hence I have rights to do what I wish to do in the name of establishing righteousness. Many a times as practicing devotees, we rationalize, we justify our action because I am going to do correct, right things. But we have to learn through this particular verse that first of all that looks right need not necessarily be right, because they may come out of our sensual and mental platform and not from the intellectual platform which is illuminated by the proper knowledge. In Vaishnava relationships also, we try to overdo certain activities thinking that I am establishing a policy or a process or righteousness. So this happens when we are over enthusiastic or try to do anything over. Here Dhruva Maharaj's activity was condemned by Swayambhuva Manu because Dhruva Maharaj was crossing his limit in fixing some mistakes in the system. Instead of punishing one or two guys who are responsible for his brother's death, he is going overboard and trying to do things which will eventually put him in trouble. So the first reflection is about how we need to function in establishing righteousness. Because many of us as practicing devotees, as preachers, we are either fanatics sometimes, or we are over enthusiastic sometimes, or we are having an extra rationalization in for our own actions, because of which we do things which are not supposed to be done, and in turn sometimes it is an offense as well. So we are going to take a shelter of a verse from Srimad Bhagavad Gita to establish some righteousness. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is talking about a basic symptom of characteristics which is supposed to be followed by a practicing devotee. This is in the context of performing austerities. As we always discuss, that there's a thin difference between Krishna consciousness look-alike and actual Krishna consciousness in terms of external appearance. There's a big difference, otherwise. But when people look from an external viewpoint, what looks like Krishna consciousness, what looks like righteousness, what looks like something that we are serious about, may actually be our sense gratificatory propensity. Hence, Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, text number 14, Deva Dvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Sauchamarjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsacha Shariram Tapauchyate. Krishna is explaining austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So we are going to discuss how, as a part of the first reflection, with our body, with our words, as well as with our mind, we are going to regulate our thoughts in righteousness. Swayambhava Manu's fear or instruction is Durva is trying to do overkilling or trying to do activities which is going to put him in hellish lifestyle. So he is encouraging him to control, to regulate. Srila Prabhupada writes that it was not wrong of Durva to kill, but it's definitely wrong on his part to overdo what he is doing. So austerity is about not doing. Austerity is about regulating, controlling the urge, and focusing towards the purpose for which the austerity is performed. In this chapter of 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, different divisions of faith are discussed. So as a part of the discussion, Krishna is explaining how do we regulate our body, how do we regulate our words, how do we regulate our mind. Kayena vacha manashrendriyaiva buddhyatmanava prakriti svabhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayana iti samarpayami. This is a very famous standard prayer that we all know or we would have heard of. So we need to learn to somehow or other dovetail our action in such a way they are meant for Narayana's pleasure. Not that we start the activity claiming this is for Narayana's pleasure and eventually go overboard and enjoy for our own pleasure. This is very much relevant in our own life as sadhakas, where when we begin Krishna consciousness, we actually begin with utmost sincerity, but over a period in time, because of complacency, because of lethargy or laziness, we try to go overboard or we don't try to check what we are supposed to check, and hence, in the name of spirituality, we do some nonsense. So hence our first reflection is, how do we control the urge? How do we regulate? And here, three different shlokas are going to be part of our first reflection, 17.14, 15 and 16. So Krishna says, the way you can control your bodily urge, the way you can regulate your body, the way you can live longer, the way you can try to engage the body properly. Prabhupada explains in the purport of the 17.14 that one should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods the perfect, qualified Brahmanas and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother or any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. These should be given proper respect. Then he is talking about cleansing oneself externally and internally. And also talking about non-violence. These are all the ways by which we can regulate and control our bodily urges. So here, Dhruva Maharaj's over-killing or trying to express extra anger, originally it was supposed to be violence for devotion. Now it is becoming violence for sense gratification. That's a fear. That's a concern, because of which Swayambhuva Manu had to interfere. Srila Prabhupada writes that when the killing is done unnecessarily or when an offenseless person is killed, it opens the path to hell, and Dhruva Maharaj was saved from such a sinful action. So in our spiritual journey, learning to control this urge matters a lot, and for which Paramatma, sitting in the heart, as well as spiritual master, a representative of Paramatma, both of them constantly help. Over here, Swayambhuva Manu, who is a very well-wisher of Dhruva Maharaj, came as a rescue because Dhruva Maharaj was a devotee. Srila Prabhupada writes that this was done because Dhruva Maharaj was a devotee, so Krishna is equally concerned. So he is sending a support system. So every time when we are saved, when we are rescued, when we are protected from some distractions in Krishna consciousness, we need to thank our Guru Maharaj, we need to thank Paramatma, or in other words, we need to constantly pray to Paramatma and spiritual master to protect us from knowingly, unknowingly slipping out of the track in spirituality. Verse number 15 of 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. The austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. This is also a very famous verse. And third, he is saying, Mana prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samsuddhir iti etad tapo manasam uchyate. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So these three verses helps us in trying to regulate, because we as devotees sometimes argue that I am doing this, I am fighting with my parents, I am debating with congregation devotees, I am arguing with my spiritual master, I am discussing or trying to go establish Krishna consciousness amongst atheists, I am trying to do some preaching program. So we kind of justify our so-called actions by some our own rationalization. But here Krishna is definitely appreciating all your endeavors to preach and give Krishna consciousness to others, but not in a way by which is acting against the whole purpose itself. So Dhruva Maharaj's intentions may be very well appreciated to establish righteousness, but just because you want to establish righteousness doesn't mean you can take the law of the Lord in your hands. And Srila Prabhupada condemns that, and that entire action becomes sinful if it is not checked at the right time. Hence my first reflection here is that how do we conduct ourselves, how do we regulate our body, how do we regulate our words, how do we regulate our mind. These three shloka are our guide. 17.14, 15 and 16. Every practicing devotee should be memorizing these three verses and please note that they are very well important for our everyday practices of Krishna consciousness, because we as practicing devotees, in case of Dhruva Maharaj, he was a very sincere, serious devotee. That's why Manu came then and there, controlled him, checked him, and saved him. In our own life, definitely Krishna would send some fellow members, some devotees, some situations by which we will be given some helping hand, one and only if you are conscious, if you are, aware that Krishna does send helping hand, we will be able to take the help. Otherwise, we will ignore them and continue to do our nonsense. So this 17.14, 15 and 16 verse happens to be our reflection for a practicing devotee, so that he remains righteous and learn to regulate his body, regulate his words, regulate his mind in his execution of devotional service. Sometimes we have a habit of trying to justify our correctness, blaming how others are wrong, justifying how others are responsible for that act. And these three verses helps us to reflect appropriately that how we need to regulate our thoughts and actions and movements, so that we will not be doing anything irresponsible. This is my first reflection. Second reflection is Srila Prabhupada is condemning here about modern scenario. Like Srila Prabhupada says, how in the modern scenario, innocent citizens or innocent people are tortured or troubled just because of some specific individuals or set of individuals' mistakes. So this whole education system that we are all exposed to has got a very funny fact that we all will appreciate. The funny fact is this: today, more than knowing what am I supposed to do, everybody is giving importance in how am I doing or how am I supposed to do. So let me elaborate this. If I am called for a dinner program amongst friends, everybody is very particular in knowing how am I eating, how am I sitting, how am I holding the spoon, how am I conducting myself, how have I dressed myself. So they are very much particular about the external scenario over what am I eating, what is my consciousness, what is the purpose of this gathering, what are we here for. So Vedic system does not discount on how. Vedic system adds an extra variable saying that whilst we are focusing on how do I conduct myself, how do I do an action, how do I perform an activity, you also know what am I supposed to do. If no education and no conversation and no importance is spoken about, what are the actions what are we eating, what are we talking, what are we thinking, what is the purpose of things? And the whole endeavor is Srama eva hi kevalam. So today, in everything that we do, the more importance is given about external things. Even amongst devotees, the scenario is that how has he sung, how was the kirtan, and the evaluation is based on the tunes. How was the class? His evaluation is based on intellectual points. How was the prasadam? Is based on the taste. So somewhere or other, because of our association with the modern educational system and modern, ideologies, we continue to remain superficial. We continue to see things in a superficial fashion. We continue to imitate the actions of others. So these are all external things because of which we may sound or think or behave as if we are doing something great. So long as we are not fixing of what my consciousness is, what the purpose of my activities are, and what am I eating, what am I talking, what am I thinking, my entire external actions will become completely abominable or taking us to the royal road to hell. So my second reflection is, as practicing devotees, we definitely need to be careful or give equal importance or more importance on what we do and what is the purpose of our doing before we articulate on how are we supposed to do it. Srila Prabhupada, when he established this Krishna consciousness movement, he was very clear what is he heading up to. He was not clear how is he going to do. Right from the beginning, when he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was absolutely clear what he needs to do, what his services are. He was constantly meditating on his purpose and principles and goals, and he was not so much worried about how, because the genuinity on what am I interested in doing will help me how to do it. In the first canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, the commentary that we have given on Srimad Bhagavatam may have grammatical mistakes, may have English not presented well, but because the purpose and principles on which this endeavor was taken is pure, the readers will get full benefit by reading these commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam. I am just paraphrasing what Srila Prabhupada has written. So the message is, even though there are mistakes, here Swayambhuva Manu's agenda is not to point out Dhruva Maharaj's external mistakes only. Here Swayambhuva Manu is not coming and stopping something external of Dhruva Maharaj. He is coming and stopping the intentions of Dhruva Maharaj. So long as intentions are not regularized, so long as intentions are not purified, so long as our attitude is not purified, how much ever externally you try to make a scene out of it, it is not going to help us. So Srila Prabhupada's point on how in the modern scenario, how does people take warfare, how does people take education, how does people take anything, any policy implementation. They are extreme implementation. Either this way, this extreme, or the other extreme. Even applying some customs, even applying some values, even applying something in the scenario, because they are not educated on the science of Srimad Bhagavatam, they apply purely on the basis of external impact that the society at large receives. Whilst Krishna consciousness is about internalization and how the internal transformation is happening is given more weightage than the external. So the second reflection hence is, as practicing devotees, whilst we are in the path of reformation or helping others to reform, we can definitely teach them how to do things, how to do certain things. We should also be very, very particular and give extra insistence, extra importance on what's. Because if we don't teach them what is the purpose of this program, what is the content of this program, nobody is worried in my dinner, what am I eating? Because this is not prasadam, nobody is worried about it. How am I eating? Am I holding the spoon correct? Am I dressed properly? Am I sitting properly? So the mannerism, table mannerism or the party mannerism is being evaluated purely on external criteria. Whereas Krishna does not give a hood to our external things. Krishna sees only our heart. So hence our second reflection is about how is very important, but without what, the how become really distracting or digressing from the focusing agenda. So here Dhruva Maharaj's action was condemned by Swayambhuva Manu, not only from the perspective of his external action, but it is also to educate that it is important that we need to look within ourselves on the purpose of our doing, purpose of our action. That is why Srila Prabhupada was encouraging as a preaching movement, we are not supposed to hate the sinners, we are just supposed to hate the sin. And that is the premises on which the entire preaching philosophy is functioning. If we start hating the sinners because they are doing sinful activities, we will not be able to preach. And if you start hating the sin but not the sinners, you will be able to apply 17.14, 15, 16, what Bhagavad Gita say, and many people will come forward and take up Krishna consciousness nicely. We will be called better preachers or better soldiers in Krishna's army. And that is why Srila Prabhupada says every devotee is a gentleman. The gentlemanliness is coming because we know to control our body by respecting elders, remain clean, worshipping Supreme Lord Brahmanas and Guru Maharaj, maintain a simple and celibate life, learn to control our tongue, and also we learn to control our mind by whatever that is listed by Krishna. So the second reflection is about how we give importance to what in Krishna consciousness. What am I supposed to learn? What is the purpose of my life? What are the goals that I need to follow? What are the principles of my Krishna consciousness? So those things needs to be given utmost importance. Third reflection is about, as a practicing devotee, we need to learn to respond to a situation than react to a situation. So over here, the act of Dhruva Maharaj is condemned because he was reactive. So the difference is, when we are in a mood of reaction or reacting, there is more of passion, there is more of arrogance, there is more of vices rather than more of wisdom. Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, the Supreme Lord encourages us to learn to respond. When Rupa Goswami Pad explained about the arjas, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udara Vegam, Upastha Vegam, he is not asking us to react. He is telling the whole of first verse of Nectar of Instruction is encouraging how do I regulate, how do I respond to these urges. What is materialistic logic? If you have an urge to drink, drink. Maybe a couple of times if you drink, you will feel satiated, so you will not have the urge to drink anymore. That's a stupid logic that our friends give. Hey, if you have an urge to watch a movie, let's go and watch a movie. If you have urge to have lust, sexual desire, just get married or go and have sex. Srila Prabhupada condemns that the Krishna consciousness program is not to be done from a reactive manner, because reactive approach may prove fruitful to a certain extent at certain situation, but responsive, you respond to the situation, will be better. So when this topic about lust was discussed, Srila Prabhupada said that many times people think that because I am lusty in nature, marriage is a solution. Because I am having a rightful authority to have sex with my partner, with my wife. But then Srila Prabhupada says that is not the solution. Marriage is not the solution for your lust. In marriage, you need to learn to regulate your urges. The only way to regulate your urges is to chant and do extra devotional service in such a manner that the urges will come down, not by quenching. So the third point that I want to, that I want to share over here, or the third reflection to this current context, is that here Dhruva Maharaj was reactive. In reactive situation, we kind of operate on the sensual platform. When we are in the responsive situation, we operate on the intellectual platform. When the intelligence is illuminated by knowledge, when intelligence is guided by Paramatma, when intelligence is supported by spiritual master's instruction, then we learn to respond to the situation. There are different challenges the Vaishnavas go through. They don't react. They learn to respond. They learn to appreciate. They learn to see them, why they are given to me and how am I supposed to handle them. So through this particular situation, we need to know that as a practicing devotee, I need to learn to respond, not react. Reaction comes out of our sensual urges and comes out of our, superficial nature, because of which we try to do actions which are completely detrimental. So hence the third reflection that I want to talk about is about, as practicing devotees, let us learn to respond to various situations, to various urges, to various challenges that as a practicing devotees that we do. And this is how Acharyas have taught and prayed. If you take any Vaishnava Acharya song, whether it is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whether it is Narottam Das Thakur, whether it is Rupa Goswami Pad, any Acharya song, whether it is Bilva Mangala Thakur, they were responding to the situation that they were put through. They were analyzing, they were repenting, because in the responding stage, we will be repentive and reflective and try to blame ourselves and go internally to purify. In a reactive scenario, we blame others and society and constantly think that every problem that I am facing is because of somebody else, not because of me, and try to put the onus on others. In Krishna consciousness, the onus is on us. If we have not made progress in Krishna consciousness, it is because of us. And if we did make some progress, it is because of the mercy of spiritual master. The fourth reflection is a basis or the foundation or something like a seed of this entire shloka, is for a practicing devotee, if his heart and prayers are very strong towards the Supreme Lord as Paramatma and the spiritual master, they are constantly guarded without even you being asking for help. Spiritual master and Paramatma extend their help. In the sense that as practicing devotees, how much we register our despondency, how much we register our need, how much we submit ourselves to the Supreme Lord and express our readiness to be corrected. So it is like a watchdog. Paramatma and spiritual master are constantly watching over us. As the very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita goes, Upadrishta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purushaparaha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. So Krishna says, May Upadrishta, I am witnessing all your actions. Anumantacha, I am also sanctioning. But I will sanction provided you take my advice, you submit to me, you come and ask me. So this fourth point is a seed or the basis of the entire spirituality. Why Arjuna is appreciated? Because even though Arjuna was completely confident about his thought of not going to fight, he had a fear in the heart. The fear was, I should not do sinful activities sinful decisions just because of my desire. The whole argument debate started with Krishna challenging or chastising Arjuna on that. You may speak like a Pandita, but actually you are talking something rubbish, foolish. And Arjuna was concerned and worried. Even though he was not knowing the solution, even though he was not ready to, understand the context, what is going on, but he was also very clear that just because I desire does not necessarily mean I should be doing it. Better let me cross-check if I am doing something correct. So as practicing devotees, we need to have this constant layer of fear, constant layer of thoughts that am I doing something correct, and I should never do something sinful. Whether I am preaching, whether I am speaking, whether I am serving, whether I am doing something for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, our intentions may be, constantly questioned so that we are not victim of Kali, rather we are servant of the spiritual master. So, Upadrishta Anumantacha, Paramatma becomes the sanctioning authority. Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha, I am the enjoyer. I am the supreme proprietor. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes. It's a very interesting purport where Prabhupada says that how Paramatma is sitting in the heart as a friend and is a companion for a long period in time. Not once, twice, he's sitting there for a long time. That the fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has a tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The biggest difference between Paramahamsas and Nitya Baddhas is because Paramahamsas align their thoughts with Paramatma. Nitya Baddhas wobble between their sensual pleasure, mental pleasure, intellectual pleasure, and somewhere or other they go between these zones. So here Krishna says very clearly that I am very intimately, I am associated as a friend. It's not that once, twice. I am there for a long time. And just this tendency of coming closer to Paramatma saves us from biggest danger. So my fourth reflection is hence that as practicing devotees, we need to learn to connect ourselves to Paramatma and constantly pray to Paramatma. There are some prayers to Paramatma where we can constantly, because he is sitting next to us only to help us. He is sitting always with us, traveling always with us only to help us to come out of the cycle of birth and death and eventually go back home, back to Godhead. In this material world, if Krishna is real with us, he is in the form of Paramatma, he is in the form of holy name, Japa, he is in the form of spiritual master. All three of them have only one agenda: to save us from sinful activities. So as a practicing devotee, we definitely need to take a sankalpa to make sure that we learn to connect to Paramatma. And what is connect to Paramatma means? We need to learn to reflect within ourselves here, because every time when we are doing an action, Paramatma helps us. So there is something called as inner voice. Many a times we know when we make mistakes or we get a doubt. Chanakya Pandita says, if you ever get a doubt whether to eat or not eat, he says don't eat. If you ever get a doubt whether I should go out or not go out, he said better don't go out. If you ever get a doubt whether I should marry or not marry, he says you should better marry. So there are different situations where we need to learn how to handle. Similarly, when we are doing some Krishna consciousness activities and we are still in the process of purifying, sometimes our sensual, mental, intellectual, logical, so many reasoning will come and say, why this way, why not this way, why him, why not him. so many things will come which may counter question our Krishna consciousness. And that's when we need to take shelter of these three: Paramatma, holy name, and spiritual master. And they three are they have only one agenda: how to carry you through and deliver you to the Supreme Lord's abode. Till that point in time, they are not going to leave your company. They have taken the sankalpa. Only us who need to take the counter sankalpa to say that yes, I am also determined not to give them up. So there are 3-4 prayers that we always encourage devotees to constantly pray. Maybe you all can try to constantly pray this, and if you read those purports, Prabhupada encourages us as practicing devotees how we should learn to connect to Paramatma. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29.50. Harir Deha Vritam Atma Swayam Prakritirishwaraha Tatpada Moolam Sharanam Yatakshemo Nranam Yaha. Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the super soul and guide of all living entities who have accepted material bodies within this world. He is the supreme controller of all material activities in material nature. He is also our best friend, and everyone should take shelter at his lotus feet. In doing so, one's life will be auspicious. So the reason I am saying this is, if at all we need to save ourselves from sinful propensities, sinful action, we need to take somebody's help. So Paramatma is the best person to constantly pray, because he is one to whom you can never cheat, because before even you think, or before even you conclude your thinking, he is already aware what you are thinking. And Paramatma communicates to spiritual master, communicates to our fellow devotees, communicates to various other people to help us. In this case, Dhruva Maharaj also, because he was a devotee, Swayambhava Manu came to help. Another prayer is what I just said about Bhagavad Gita 13.23, Upadrishta Anumantacha, which I just read. Another prayer, 18.14, Bhagavad Gita, Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratak vidam vividascha pratak cheta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul, these are the 5 action. So in that purport, Prabhupada explains how super soul sits in the heart and guides if we are ready to listen to him.
Conference is over?
No. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, are you there?
Hmm. Technical. Technical difficulties.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I don't know, conference is over or I don't know.
I think Prabhuji dropped the call, Prabhu. Maybe he is.
Shamagori Mataji, are you?
Yeah, Mataji, I was calling him, but he didn't pick up, Mataji. I called him. I thought he already came to conference, so again I came to conference.
Okay, I will try. Can I try?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Where is Prabhuji located?
I think Prabhu in India, I think.
Yes, Prabhuji is speaking from India, so that's why maybe internet is not good.
Right.
भी नेटवर्क क्षेत्र से बाहर है, कृपया कुछ समय बाद फिर कोशिश करें. This number can't be reached right now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions? I'm not sure. The call got suddenly cut. I don't know whether it logically ended or I don't know where it got ended. So, any questions or comments we can discuss. Did the call go through till the end? Because I wasn't sure. Suddenly I was, seeing that the call was, meeting has ended. I'm not sure it was from my end or the other end.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. You got disconnected in between, and just a minute back when you said the last line, only we could hear you. So we were trying to connect you.
Well, did the summary part of the class was on? I don't know what point in time I got disconnected. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I also went out. If anybody can say at what point.
Prabhuji, you were saying is the call getting
Hello?
You said, is the call on? You said like that, and after that we couldn't hear anything. You had told about the 4 points. The fourth point you were saying, after that we couldn't hear.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, are you there?
Yeah, Mataji, can you connect him through 1H?
Yeah, I tried. Okay, let me try.
Yeah, it says he is not in the coverage area, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Bol.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Everyone is able to hear?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I didn't even realize when I got thrown out. At what point in time, if somebody can help, I can fill in with whatever I was constantly speaking. I didn't even check my connection, so I'm so sorry.
Prabhuji, we could hear you till you said about the 4th point, and then you said, is the call still on? And after that, we couldn't hear anything.
Right. So, I mean, the summary part of it was on, right? I mean, I hope I didn't miss the last even explanation. So I was only giving the summary of all the points that I discussed.
Yeah. So actually, you told about the prayers. The prayers we can make from Bhagavad Gita and from Bhagavatam. You were telling about the 4th point that the practicing devotees. So I don't know whether like that was the summary part, but I think it was in flow. I think
it was part of the summary. Yeah, it was.
Prabhuji, I don't think you are telling Bhagavad Gita verses 18 point something, na? You were explaining.
Yeah, 18.4.
I was getting the prayers, so those 4 or 5 prayers I think I did mention even in the class. So I just summarize. Usually I summarize so that even if you had gone all over the place, if you want to just connect things together, I always summarize. So if it has gone, I went offline during the summary. It's okay. If I went offline even in the part of the discussion, then I would not mind to even repeat.
Yeah.
If it's in summary, there are any questions?
One request, can you repeat the summary, Prabhuji, in short, if it's possible?
Yeah, the summary, we discussed 4 points. Number 1, we discussed about how we need to regulate our body, mind, and words. And we discussed the 3 prayers from Bhagavad Gita, 17.14, 15, and 16. And those 3 verses helps us to, regulate our body, in which, 14 verse talking about how do we respect spiritual master, brahmanas, Supreme Lord, fathers, elders at home, and how do we maintain cleanliness and non-violence. And then 17:15 talks about how do we control our words, Anudvega Karam Vadyam Satyam Prihetam here. So, and the 16 talks about how do we control our mind. So the reason that I was talking about is Dhruva Maharaj's actions were condemned by Swayambhuva Manu, which is because he was overdoing something. So even in our own personal spiritual life, we may, out of excitement, does something which is, kind of overdoing out of fanaticism or, excitement. So we need to learn to regulate and, organize that. Second reflection that I was talking about was about learning to do, what to do is to be understood before how to do it. Whilst in this material world, every importance is given on how, then what. So in Krishna consciousness, action that we are doing. And third reflection that I was talking about is about how do we learn to respond and not react to a situation. And the fourth reflection is about the 4 prayers, 5 prayers that we were giving to Paramatma, because Paramatma, holy name, and spiritual master are 3 support systems for a practicing devotee. Only when we take their help, they are always available for us. If we don't take their help, then we are lost. So the more we latch on to them, or the more serious we tell them that how much they mean to us, that we will be able to take up Krishna consciousness seriously. So that was the 4-pointed reflections for this particular shloka. Any questions or comments? I'm happy to respond.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think I missed the last part. Is there any specific shloka and prayer that you said?
Yeah, so the 5 prayers that I suggested were Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29.50, Bhagavad Gita 13.23, Bhagavad Gita 18.14, 18.61, 18.62. I mean, there may be many, many more, but these were some direct prayers to Paramatma to help, to connect to him, because he's our friend, eternal companion. He is the one who is sanctioning our desires. And our desires, if they are very strong and burning, then he definitely sanctions. And in this case of Dhruva Maharaj, because he was a devotee, he got the helping hand. In our case, because we are practicing devotees, we will definitely get a helping hand, sometimes in the form of facilitation and encouragement, sometimes in the form of stopping us if Krishna feels that we are going overboard or doing something wrong.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very wonderful class. Your realizations and practical application and helping us step by step with the guidance from Shastras. It's so wonderful. It touches the heart, and we pray to you that maybe we be able to apply this in the daily life. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Ma. All worship Prabhupada. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think it's a little bit fuzzy for me, but I think you were making a connection between the desire for regulation and worshiping the Paramatma and spiritual master. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. So I was referring to the verse Bhagavad Gita 13.23, the purport. Prabhupada writes, the fact is that every individual living entity is an eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has a tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. So what I was trying to drive home is that Paramatma is eternally, as a friend, ready to observe our action and sanction our action, so long as if you are able to align with the Paramatma's process. If we try to align ourselves to our own self-gratificatory process, then Paramatma it is acting against his wish. It is acting against his desire. Then we are stranded. And spiritual master is a representative of Paramatma, and holy name is the one which helps us to draw back, connect back to both spiritual master and Paramatma. So this becomes a very, very necessary tying thread, so that our whole purpose of being in Krishna consciousness is established. Otherwise, we will be namesake devotees, but in the real sense, we will be doing self-gratification in the garb of a devotee because of whatever, not having correct understanding. So I was just trying to strike the chord saying it's extremely important as practicing devotees to learn to resonate with Paramatma. I'm making sense?
Yeah, so the idea is, in our attempt to regulate our activities, we should be trying to beseech the sanction of Guru and Paramatma to make sure that our regulation is in accordance with their desires and not according to our, I guess, whims.
Yes. And extension of this is, many people may argue that I don't have an access to my Guru Maharaj. I don't get to speak to my Guru Maharaj. So that is where I am trying to draw. Prabhupada repeatedly said, Paramatma comes in the form of a spiritual master. Our spiritual master instructs us through Paramatma, and both of them will be realized when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively, and put together all three of them facilitate our due course of everyday action in such a way the challenge or the pain or the pleasure that we get is directly proportionate to our progress in Krishna consciousness. So they are facilitated to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So we may not argue saying that I don't have direct access to my spiritual master. Oh, had Narada Muni been there in my life, I would have been a better devotee. Or if I had Rupa Goswami with me, I would have vibrated in Krishna consciousness nicely. There are many, expression of interest can be shown. But what we currently have is definitely the best that we deserve. With this, let us show our urgency and sense of, our despondency to Supreme Lord, so that He can come little forward, take us little forward, and that way eventually we make it to His lotus feet.
And you said that the way to hear the instruction of whether it be the spiritual master or the Paramatma is by chanting the holy name attentively. That's the way to hear them.
That's number one. Number two is very easily you can check if you are moving progress in Krishna consciousness or not by your results. Prabhupada says, Phalena Parichiyate. And as we have always discussed in the past, 3 fundamental results can be constantly always checked to help you analyze if I am making progress or not. There are, 3 levels of tests I always suggest. One level is 3-pointed test. How much I have developed taste in chanting, how much my sense gratificatory propensity has come down, how much my enviousness towards other living entities have come down. These 3 will tell whether I related with Paramatma or whether I related with my own, assumed mind and, my own intelligence, considering that as Paramatma. So the result is, result will speak for itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and one last thing is, you said that, people, or if you could elaborate on the fact that, marriage is not meant for a sex indulgence. It's meant for, to regulate the sex desire. And if you could elaborate on, in specifically how marriage does that.
Srila Prabhupada, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada about this, and there was a situation, I don't exactly remember the sequence of events, that, this got, a lot of illicit sex problem, or he has got urge to have sexual, excuse me. So, Srila Prabhupada said, they suggested this, so maybe he should get married. So Prabhupada says that marriage life is not the solution to a sexual problem. So he says that marriage life is meant to regulate and purify our existence in Krishna consciousness. So what I was trying to say and what I'm trying to clarify here is that in marriage life, because there are some responsibilities and that responsibilities are to be fulfilled, and that's why some facilities are given. Marriage life has transaction with various things which all the other ashrams don't have. In marriage life, you are legally allowed to have sexual. You are legally allowed to handle money. You are legally allowed to have social life. You are legally allowed to have interaction with things which are not directly connected with Krishna consciousness, because in the Varnashrama ecosystem, Grahastha ashram is the only ashram which is supposed to be dealing with all of them. These are considered as facilities from the perspective of other ashrams. Oh my God, they are living in a palatial house. They are living in a convenient arrangement. They have money. They have women. They have children. So other ashrams may see them as facilities, but Shastra says this as a responsibility. So every facility is provided to a person who has a responsibility. So the responsibility of the Grahastha ashram is to facilitate, support Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. That is why a Grahastha is supposed to serve Sannyasis, preachers, preaching initiatives and upholding cultural lifestyle so that the society at large can apply Varnashrama Dharma. So sex life is only one portion, and that also is expected to be regulated. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if a person can learn to regulate his sex life in Grahastha ashram, he is called Grahastha Brahmachari. he has got the same credit as much as if he had been a brahmachari. So this is a pretty, complex or fishy subject. It may it may take any direction, depends upon how somebody perceives them. But if somebody is serious in practicing Krishna consciousness, they should know marriage life is not meant for, free flow of sex. Marriage life is not meant for convenience or luxurious life. Marriage life is meant for higher responsibility towards establishing Varnashrama Dharma. Making sense?
So, actually, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I thought that when you were talking about the responsibility involved in the marriage, I thought that you were going to say something like, sex life in marriage, it leads to children, it leads to having to take care of the house. Because of the austerities involved with having all of these facilities, then the couple will become disenchanted with the enjoyment aspect of it and get purified in that way. So is there any validity to that, or?
Well, I'm slightly not connecting to that point, because I won't take that route, because definitely children and the pain or whatever so-called austerity goes in maintaining the children is never portrayed or never claimed as a pain. It is always given as an opportunity. Yes, as a brahmachari, Prabhupada says, as a brahmachari or as other ashramas, you have lesser responsibility in terms of those things in comparison to a grihastha. But once somebody accepts grihastha ashrama as ashram, whatever the burden or whatever the so-called responsibilities of begetting a son or daughter and maintaining them or bringing them up is never portrayed anywhere as a pain. Rather, it is portrayed as a responsibility, and it is shown as a duty of grihastha to uphold varnashrama. They need to walk through that responsibility. So that is why I didn't take that route. But technically we can say that. I mean, what you said is not, nobody can say it is wrong that way, but it's a crude way of presenting the purpose of grihastha ashrama. The real purpose of grihastha ashrama is to support, uphold varnashrama dharma and help all the ashramas. That's my understanding.
But by doing so, by upholding the other ashrams, is that supposed to lead to the elimination of sex desires for selfish purpose? Is that supposed to be the result?
Yes, because you are supposed to worship deities, you are supposed to feed poor, you are supposed to help sannyasis, you are supposed to help in the preaching mission. So you don't have time for enjoyment. So grihastha is supposed to host. So because you are supposed to be doing all of them, so when do you have time for your enjoyment? So the idea is that as a grihastha, you are supposed to earn money. In fact, there is a separate discussion that we can have on 5 possible ways of utilizing money in grihastha ashram. If Bhagavatam says if somebody does not spend money in those 5 ways, the money will entangle him in the materialistic life. Bhagavatam tells this: if a grihastha is interested in being Krishna consciousness, the money that he earns in grihastha ashram should be spent in these 5 ways only. If he spends the money in any other way, the money will be the cause of his concern. Separately we can discuss this, completely out of context. But all I'm trying to say is that, yes, if a grihastha is committed, then Prabhupada says deity worship is one of the important ways by which a grihastha can check his sexual urge. If a grihastha is in the trouble of not able to control his sexual urge, he is encouraging us to please worship deities, host devotees, participate in preaching initiatives, that you will be kept busy.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danat Pranam. Prabhuji, you were mentioning in the beginning of class that overdoing everything. Sometime it is out of ignorance. Maybe we did so many things in giving Krishna consciousness to others, new people, or and so many things. How we can rectify this, Prabhu? I mean, how Durmaras...
No, that's a right. So the whole point of our discussion is about that only. The last point of our conversation is about how do we connect to Paramatma. So during that point, I was just trying to say that if we are very closely connecting to Paramatma, and the third reflection is about learn to respond rather than react, then we will always be getting feedback of how are we performing. This whole system of Krishna consciousness is not unidirectional. It is bidirectional. It is not that we keep on doing and there is no response from Krishna. Krishna constantly responds and acknowledge. We need to learn to see which is Krishna and which is Maya. So this is very subtle, but it is scientific. And that is why Prabhupada says, this is Susukam Kartumabhyayam, 9.1 Bhagavad Gita. This Krishna consciousness process is Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam. You can actually experience it and nobody will be able to debate on that. This is something that is called spiritual science, because this is not some arbitrary emotions or arbitrary some sort of a hallucination. This is science, and if you overdo, Krishna is not a ruthless military man where he's ready to shot you off for every smallest mistake that you do. Krishna is a very kind mother, very kind father. His whole agenda is to see to that how you and me can go to him. Krishna has got everything. Krishna has got Chintamani Dham. Krishna has got, Surabhi cows. Krishna has got Kalpaka Vriksha. Krishna has got everything. The only thing Krishna don't have is you and me. So Krishna will always long for what he does not have. He is not going to long for what he has. And we are longing for what we already have as well as what we think we don't have. So hence, when we are trying to overdo something or when we are trying to do a mistake or something, Krishna will help. Krishna will not punish. Punishment is never Krishna's first agenda or neither second agenda, nor the third one. Krishna's last agenda is punishment because he never hurt. So in our amateurish growth in Krishna consciousness, if we make mistakes, Krishna do support us, help us, facilitate us so that we can come out of it. He does not do it not only once. He does it repeatedly. Not only in one lifetime, in many, many lifetimes. If we just think and imagine how much Krishna extends his help, we will feel ashamed that we have not anything done for him. So at least he is a gentleman trying to keep up his promise, so that let us also be one to keep up some portion of our promises, so that we can go closer to him. Any sense?
Yes, Prabhu, yes. And also, Prabhu, sometimes it's very difficult to respond because we actually, for myself, I can see I react so fast. It's also how we practice our spiritual life. Maybe we can...
Well, to speak of you, even Dhruva Maharaj couldn't respond. He was reacting. So if you are doing that, sometimes some devotee will call you and say, Mataji, don't do it. Or, somebody will call you. If you have been very sincerely praying to Paramatma, trying to connect, and still you make mistakes or react to a situation, wait for a phone call, wait for a WhatsApp message, wait for some episode, wait for some instruction. Definitely Krishna will interfere. Because it's Krishna's responsibility also. As I said, this Krishna consciousness is not unidirectional. Krishna is bidirectional. What you Etam mam prapatyante tam tadaiva bhajamyaham. The way you relate with Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate back accordingly.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, also you were telling how Swayambhuva Manu is came, yes, when he was, because Krishna will send us, yes, he was a very sincere devotee, that's why Manu saying. But our case, every mistake, Krishna will. It's very difficult. Somebody come and tell you are doing mistake.
The reference. What is this? Krishna will do every day. He's sitting as Paramatma with you. He is personally tailor-made service, to you. He is sitting with you, sitting with me, sitting with every spirit soul, only to give us confidence that don't worry, I am there with you. Just move forward. Just move forward. It's not an arbitrary statement. He is personally. That's what that prayer is all about. You please go and read the purports of all these 5 prayers. Because Prabhupada says that how, as practicing devotees, we should not remain thinking. We should get into action. And for action, Paramatma helps. Because Krishna consciousness is action. Krishna consciousness is not just some philosophy. You have to get into action somewhere, and when you act, you will see the response. If you don't get into action, every lecture will be boring only, because we will not be able to connect what is being spoken. But if you get into action, oh yeah, this happened to me. Oh yeah, this is Krishna. Oh yes, actually this policeman who stopped me was Krishna. We were coming back from Vrindavan this time. We were about to catch the train at 5:25, and in the evening, from Vrindavan to Mathura, the rickshawala kind of messed it up, or maybe whomever you want to blame. We already reached Mathura. We were almost 5:20, and we had around 20 bags. And policeman caught us. And we said that this policeman, should he catch us at this point in time? We were around 20 devotees, and around 10 devotees were already in the station. We were only 7-8 devotees behind. If we don't go, then it's all going to create a big mess. And the policeman stopped us, and we pleaded him whatever we did. Finally, this policeman showed us a way which can take us to the station in 2 minutes. Otherwise, our original route of the rickshawala was going to take us through another 10 minutes route, by which we would have definitely missed the train. So there are some small episodes in our life where we get to get an acknowledgement that this episode may not be relevant for any one of you, but for me, in the core of my heart, I very well know that it was Krishna who came in the form of a policeman, stopped us and redirected us and showed us a shortcut. In 2 minutes we reached the station and we caught the train. Otherwise we would have definitely missed the train. So whether Krishna has to come and help us in fixing the train, maybe yes, maybe not. But we see it as Krishna's support. Krishna is providing his support through various agencies. After a point in time, Krishna will come himself. Further, we need to qualify ourselves. Till that point in time, we should only take Krishna's agency's support, which is as good as Krishna's support. Make sense?
Yes. So sometimes only our thinking means we ourselves not ready to take that situation.
That is the problem. The problem is not about Krishna not responding. The problem is that are we ready to take that help? So if we are ready to take that help, then Krishna is ready, sitting next to us, do whatever he wants. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for so beautiful class.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, very beautiful class, Prabhu, and very nice personal experience about the policeman that you are sharing. It's really make us more confidence about more. How do you say, more being belief on Krishna. Whatever is happening, it's all Krishna's mercy, because Krishna wants us to put on the correct path. It's really very nice, Prabhu, sharing that nice experience. If nobody has any questions or comments, we can end the call here. Okay, I would like to offer obeisances to all Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhya ekavacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava. Jai Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhu ji ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu ji, for the beautiful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu ji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.